My name is Special Agent Johnson of the FBI. My office has received an alarming phone call. Twitter has been hacked, and it's more serious than any digital hack we've ever seen before. It's a recipe for disaster, and if we don't get to the bottom of this soon, then hundreds of millions of dollars could be gone in the blink of an eye. Here's what we know so far. We've got high-profile victims, and lots of them. We've got a Bitcoin scheme intertwining somehow. We've got the digital criminal mastermind who calls himself Kirk #5270. And we've got 3 key suspects. Let's figure this out together before the list of victims surpasses its tipping point and turns this into a national emergency. We're still receiving information as we speak. We're dotting the I's and crossing the T's, but there's plenty of work to be done. First things first, let's get you up to speed. On July 15th, 2020, that's when it all came tumbling down. Twitter is a $30 billion company. It's a globally known brand with 330 million users. But most importantly, it's a vessel for any hacker to spread information like wildfire. All it takes is one tweet to gain traction, then one news outlet to fan the flame, and just like that, the information is out there for all to see. It's not the first time that we've worked with Twitter. Despite a strong cybersecurity presence, global black hat hackers are always fine-tuning their skills. It was about 4 in the afternoon on Wednesday, here on the East Coast, when the sword fell. The first wave of attacks hit the Twitter accounts of prominent cryptocurrency leaders and companies. Before too long, that list had grown to include the accounts of dozens of the biggest names in America. And I'm not exaggerating there. These people's influence, followings, and bank accounts are enormous. Let's take a closer look at these victims. Who are they? So far, it looks like the hackers have targeted the Twitter handles of former President Barack Obama, former Vice President Joe Biden, Elon Musk, Kanye West, and Bill Gates, just to name a few. Uber and Apple were breached as well. As I said, the scope of influence here is huge. What's curious is the order in which these accounts were taken over. Between 4 and 5 p.m., Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Apple, and Uber were hacked. By 6 p.m., the accounts of Mike Bloomberg, Floyd Mayweather, Joe Biden, Barack Obama, Kanye, and 2 of the world's richest business moguls, Jeff Bezos and Warren Buffett, had been compromised. Our contacts at Twitter informed us that a number of accounts were temporarily blocked around 6 p.m. with the intention to thwart the hack before it penetrated any further. Despite taking those measures, Kim Kardashian still fell victim shortly before 7 p.m. To solve a crime, we need to think like a criminal. So let's put ourselves in the shoes of the hackers for a moment. Why target these particular names? For political influence? It's possible, but unlikely. The most relevant modern political Twitter accounts, those of Trump and Putin, were not affected. Could it be money? We're not ruling it out. These men and women boast some of the deepest pockets on the planet. Often we find that if there is no political motive, there's a significant underlying financial motive. But there's one significant element we can't overlook. These celebrity figures, via their Twitter accounts, have a combined reach of hundreds of millions of people. It's free publicity, more fast-acting and widespread than any other modern means of communication. Let's take a closer look at these particular tweets then. What do they actually say? Perhaps that will give us a better idea of these criminals' motivation. From Joe Biden's account posted on July 15th. I'm giving back to the community. All Bitcoin sent to the address below will be sent back doubled. If you send $1,000, I will send back $2,000. Only doing this for 30 minutes. This message remained consistent across the majority of compromised accounts. Just as I suspected, the motivational factor here was money. Well, cryptocurrency technically. So we have our digital victims, the celebrities. That brings us to our second clear piece of evidence, the Bitcoin payments. We've actually seen something similar before. My colleagues and I have been aware of a long-running Bitcoin scam just like this one, but in the past, I've only ever seen hackers pretending to be celebrities. Never have I seen the real, verified celebrity accounts taken over. Throughout my years working in the FBI's cybersecurity department, one thing has become clear. Criminals love Bitcoin. Time and time again, we've seen scammers, thieves, and swindlers request or steal Bitcoin. Why? because of the nature of the cryptocurrency technology. With no single institution in charge, it's essentially impossible to recover the funds. Once they're gone, they're gone. And while recovery is a losing game, tracking is a little easier. Luckily for us, we're aware of a handful of websites that track Bitcoin's blockchain, which you can think of as their public ledger of transactions. We've got our own systems as well, but that's all I'm allowed to say on the topic. Let's take a look at those ledgers then, okay? By 7 p.m., the Bitcoin wallets promoted in the tweets had received over 300 transactions. All up, $50, $60, $90, $118,000 worth of Bitcoin had been transferred. I'll be frank with you. At first, as is the case with most cybersecurity breaches, we suspected that the threat comes from an international source. North Korea has been documented to have used Bitcoin extensively in the past. It could have been Russia, China, or Iran. But the reality is that swindling $118,000 worth of Bitcoin doesn't give opposing nations much of an advantage. In the past, we've seen a pattern. Successful international hackers aim to do one of two things. 1. Trigger stock market havoc, or 2. Spread political misinformation. Given that neither of these common motives is present, that leads me to the assumption that this hack, which is effective, but also relatively amateurish, is the work of an individual hacker, not a state. But finding out the true identity of that hacker is going to take a little more digging. That brings us to the third point of evidence. A Discord user with the handle Kirk#5270. While we here at the FBI are hastily trying to connect the pieces of the puzzle, the management over at Twitter are conducting their own analysis as we speak. It's just as important that they protect themselves from a repeat attack as it is that we arrest the people responsible. Okay, thank you. We just got word from Twitter themselves. Jack Dorsey, Twitter's chief executive, tells me that they know how these hackers gained access. Looks like we know how Kirk#5270 fits into the equation after all. On July 15th, a few hours before the chaos unfolded, Kirk#5270 declared in a Discord chat that he worked for Twitter and proposed that he could claim any Twitter handle, so beckoned hackers to contact him if they were working on something. According to Jack Dorsey, several Twitter employees who had access to internal systems had their accounts compromised in a coordinated social engineering attack. Essentially, they were tricked into giving away their credentials via a classic phone phishing scam. The hackers now had access to Twitter's computer systems and databases, which allowed them to infiltrate high-profile accounts like Elon Musk and Joe Biden. 130 accounts were targeted in total, 45 of which were used to tweet, and 36 of which had their direct messages accessed. Excellent work. We're making great progress, team. Let's recap. We know who was targeted, we know what was taken, and we know how the hack was orchestrated. The crucial piece of missing information, and the one that will lead us to closing this case, is of course, the names of the hackers. So far, our leads are few and far between. These three men, Mason Shepard, Nima Fazeli, and Graham Ivan Clark. First up, let's take a look at suspect number 1, Mason Shepard. The 19-year-old UK-based Shepard popped up on our radar because of his own oversight. We were able to track some of the scammed Bitcoin to his personal cryptocurrency wallet. Ordinarily, this isn't always possible. However, Shepard used a personal driver's license to verify himself with the Binance and Coinbase cryptocurrency exchanges. But still, we can't find a link to Kirk#5270. Let's examine suspect number 2, Nima Fazeli. Like Shepard, 22-year-old Fazeli from Florida also used a driver's license to verify with Coinbase, where accounts controlled by his online alias, Rolex, allegedly received payments in exchange for stolen Twitter usernames. We were able to draw this connection by matching the IP address from the Coinbase accounts and the Discord account. While we can now identify the involvement of both of these suspects, they appear to just be middlemen. We're still missing the big fish, the person who orchestrated the hack. That brings me to suspect number 3, Graham Ivan Clark. We have reason to believe that Clark, a teenager from Tampa, convinced a Twitter employee that he worked in the company's IT department before tricking that employee into giving him the essential login credentials. Now, the question must be asked, Do we have enough evidence to take any or all of these suspects into custody? For Nima Fazeli, we do. With correlating IP addresses and chat records, including this Discord interaction, we have proof to assume beyond a reasonable doubt that the Rolex online persona is Fazeli. So we're going to charge him with one count of aiding and abetting the international access of a protected computer. Fazeli will face 5 years in prison and a $250,000 fine. We can charge Shepard with the same crime, as well as wire fraud conspiracy and money laundering conspiracy, the most serious of which comes with a 20-year jail sentence. It's taken a couple of weeks, but thanks to us and to the rest of our team, we've now got enough proof to take our big fish, Graham Clark, into custody. We're going to make the arrest today and charge him as the mastermind behind the scheme that stole identities and reaped more than $100,000 in Bitcoin in just a single day. Florida law allows minors to be charged as adults in financial fraud cases such as this, and that's exactly what we're going to do. This kid knew what he was doing, and he's going to face the wrath of over 30 felony counts, including organized fraud, communications fraud, identity theft, and hacking. Had it not be for our department's quick thinking, in collaboration with Twitter, the IRS, the Secret Service, and Florida law enforcement, this hack could have sparked astronomical consequences. Billions could have been stolen, and because Clark had access to powerful politicians' Twitter accounts, it could have destabilized the American financial markets. Imagine if Bill Gates announced he was leaving Microsoft, or if Obama tweeted about a hidden nuclear missile war chest. The wider effects would have been unfathomable. Fortunately, we caught these guys just in time. Thanks for helping us solve this. If you were the judge, what punishment would you have given young Graham Clark? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to The Richest, and have a great day. Catch you next time.